so smart. Okay, hit the recording.
All right, let's go ahead and get started this evening. Today is Monday, October 4th, 2021. We're here for the regular Board of Trustees meeting in Orange Township. Call this meeting to order. Ms. Kraft, can you please call roll?
Mr. Grumbles?
Here.
Ms. Taranto? Here. Mr. Rivers?
Here.
If you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Open up for public comments. No. Any agenda changes? I have one thing I'd like to add to the agenda. It's consideration for I don't even know what the right verbiage is. We need to get records retrieved from a laptop. So I'll ask for approval for that later in the meeting today.
Do you want that under old business?
It'll be new business. And then I'd also like to get approval to obtain outside counsel for the township to address the issues that have surfaced this year with respect to our working with the prosecutor's office, specifically around the audit that just took place. So I'll put that under new business as well.
Well, I know our chairman tonight is going to do or say whatever he pleases, so it's up to the two of you. If you want to make these last minute agenda changes and move forward, I can't stop you. Go for it.
All right. Any questions on the consent agenda? Any questions?
So this is all for the work that you're going to be doing this fall, right? The mastic and crack sealing and...
Correct. There's an annual program that the township does. It's kind of scattered all throughout the township.
I just don't remember it being happening this late in the year. I always thought it was in the summer.
Typically, it'll be a little bit earlier. It's part of the road improvement project. The county is the second one that our staff does. Usually around this time, we've had some issues with supplying land and some materials. So it's probably a few weeks delayed in the moments.
Thank you.
Sorry, we've been having some sound drops with the YouTube, so I just want to make sure everybody is near a microphone.
Are these all on?
Yes.
Okay. Make a motion to approve resolution 21-328 and 21-329 of the consent agenda.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes?
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
All right. It goes down to development and zoning.
All right, thank you. So this Thursday, October 14th, we do have 3 applications. One is in regards to an area variance for a deck over at the Sanctuary at the Lakes. The next one is an area variance and conditional use for a sign over on East Powell Road. And lastly is another area variance and conditional use for the monument sign over at the new ATS in Creekside Industrial. Following that, which will be the next item on the agenda, is to schedule the trustee hearings for rezoning applications number zone-21-05 and zone-21-06. And those are both involving the Evans Farm single family and planned commercial districts. And just another update, in 2 weeks, we will be having our kickoff meeting with ZoneCo, our zoning consultant for the zoning resolution rewrite. That's really just staff and the consultant to try to make a game plan for the next year. And so if I can, Trustee Grumbles, if I can continue on with the other two agenda items.
Sure.
So the zoning commission at their last meeting on September 28th, did recommend approval unanimously for both Evans Farm Planned Commercial and Evans Farm Single Family District amendments. And they would like to schedule their meeting, preferably at the next trustee meeting on October 18th.
Any issues with the schedule?
I do not have any issues.
Trustee Sorrento? No?
Unless I'm not seeing a resolution to approve the meeting minutes from last time.
That was in,
Is it in the consent?
yep. Yeah, 328. You said October 18th, right?
Please.
For both the resolutions?
Yes, October 18th for both of the resolutions.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-330 to schedule hearing for zoning application 21-05 Evans Farm PCD amendments
6 p.m.
for October 18th at 6 p.m.
Second.
Is there a second?
Yep, Abby.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-331, schedule a hearing for zoning application 21-06 Evans Farm Single Family Planned Residential District Amendments for October 18th at 6 p.m. following application zoning 21-05.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto? Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Just FYI, you have a number typo.
I see that, yeah.
I just adjusted for the minutes.
Good catch.
That's what it is, that's right. That's what we saw.
What's that? Trustee Turner?
And that's all I have for the zoning report.
All right.
All right, thanks, Board. Good evening, everyone.
I didn't know you were moving on to the next slide, in regards to the Evans Farm.
Oh, that public comments at the beginning. Unless there's an objection by the board, I'm fine with having a comment since it's the agenda item. No? Okay, sir.
I'm going to put an impression, public comment, beginning.
Yep, that's okay. If you just state your name. Yeah, if you state your name and address.
James Sowell, 6266 Westwick Place. I was always under the impression public comments at the beginning, unless it was regarding an issue on here, then you spoke then. Maybe I was wrong, so I'm sorry if I...
No, it's okay either way. We'll allow you to speak. No problem.
In regarding to the hearings coming up, I thought you were actually going to be voting on the one today. My concern is still the paths have not, the leisure paths have not been built yet. Every single developer that builds in Orange Township, builds in Berlin, builds over in Liberty, the path has to be in before they even construct a residence at all. And that has not happened here with Evans Farm. The Silvestri's got the path right there. It needs to go all the way to the railroad track, so at least connect. They're building the cove there. Doesn't look like there's going to be anything there. And I'm asking you, before you approve the resolutions that the changes they want, that you put something, hold under their feet to complete that. I've talked to several of the residents that live there. They're told the same thing. Well, we say the same thing. We want the path built, and they're saying, well, we aren't going to build it until the road is widened. The path can be built. If the road is widened, Delaware County is going to replace the path. If they have to dig it out, they'll replace it. But there's still too many cars well, at least you can go 45 through there. There's too many cyclists. And it's a good way to connect and then hook over to the railroad path behind the barbershop area, at least get around more. There's supposed to be parklands at Evans Farm. I mean, residents have been there, the first residents moved in over 3.5 years ago. There's lots available there, but there's still no parks. You go over there, the children, there's nowhere for them to play except in their yards. I know they're working on it again this summer. They were working on it last summer. But I wish you would hold them accountable to some of these things. I've talked to several of the developers. Why did you put your path in that goes 300 yards here on Lewis Center, the Morgan area development there? Because we're told we have to. We want to be good neighbors. And I know Owens Township has there's never going to be a path on that side. I know the road's going to be widened 4 or 5 years from there, and then they'll probably do the same thing as they did the south side. But you're having these developers put in paths where there's never going to be any connections. Same way over at Epcon, across by Olentangy High School. The Epcon over by the library. Some of those do connect to some things, but for the most part, they don't connect to anything, and they're not going to. So I just wish you would hold Evans Farm accountable for some of those things as you do all the other developers before you approve anything else, any additional amendments. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ironman, do you have any feedback you can share with us today or that you have an interest in sharing?
Good evening. I'm Tony Ironman with Evans Farmland Development Company, 1550 Lewis Center Road, Suite B. Back when we went through the zoning process, the agreement with the township was that because Lewis Center Road was going to be widened in different phases from the typical, well, it was when we inherited it, 2 lanes to 3 lanes, and there was a ditch involved in that. And then eventually that Lewis Center Road on our nickel is going to be widened to 5 lanes, that the path would be installed when the 5-lane road went in. That would allow us to close up that ditch and adequate work to be done and plenty of room to do it out of the pavement area as we widen that road. And that all included dedication of extra land too off of Evans Farm. None of it's being taken from the south property owners. So we are still committed to putting the trail in. We're still committed to doing it as we agreed with the widening of Lewis Center Road to 5 lanes. As I mentioned to Ms. Taranto, Mr. Stabile in the back right before the meeting, is I was out there this morning. I saw us cutting in the trail from Meadows at Lewis Center over to Evans Farm Drive, which was not expected, but we're going to do that apparently long before we're supposed to. The widening it from there to the railroad is probably not going to happen. And part of that is because the county is going to put a roundabout in next year. I think they start at the end of next year. So anything we put in would certainly be torn out as soon as it went in. So the trail will be extended, it looks like, to Evans Farm Drive, even though we're ahead of schedule. So it's where we are.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mr. Stabile, does that help explain kind of what the logic was there?
I understand that, but not really.
Okay. I know too.
Because every single other developer, Lewis whole state is going to be widened too. Whole state is going to be widened too. No, 3-4 more years, and the trail will be taken out or whatever. That this is going to be, whether that roundabout goes in next November or not. You know, it's probably going to be longer than that. I mean, we're looking at another, I would say, 3 years probably before any of that goes in. And the same way with the parklands that we're supposed to be going in these first few sections there that haven't started yet, really.
Okay, and I do want to point out, I think
2 or 3 meetings ago, the county engineer came and presented to us on the timing of, an updated timing on projects. And I know that the Home Road extension, the roundabout, even the underpass at Orange Road, they were all shared. And if you send a note to the township, they can give you a copy of that presentation that has up some of the updated dates.
I saw it on,
Oh, okay.
at your meeting. I
Yeah,
saw
so
it.
I think they're gonna go after that roundabout, you know, and tie into the trails. I understand they don't want to put anything in and then tear it right back out, but also understand your concern. So we'll discuss that next meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. Mr. Bowers?
Good evening, Board. Several items on the agenda tonight from operations. First one is a resolution to appoint a full-time administrative assistant to the Director of Operations. We were fortunate to have another applicant, or several applicants, come forward after we reposted the position after retirement of Mary Ann Ross, and very excited to recommend Kim Mahaney to the Board for a full-time position of admin assistant. Real excited to have her, and she brings a wealth of experience and a great background to the township.
Questions, Board, about that?
No.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-332 to appoint Kim Mahaney. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
To full-time position of Administrative Assistant to the Director of Operations and Establishment of Compensation.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Thank you, Board. Excited to add another great member to our team here. Next item on the operations report is a discussion regarding North Orange Park. The south section of the parking lot at North Orange Park is in pretty dire need of repairs. What we were looking to do from a cost standpoint was to potentially break down the parking lot into several sections. We have it broken down in about 6 or so different sections to try to work on in phases. The first phase being the driveway going across the entire southern section, and a couple of the offshoot parking lots closest to the pool to get the most heavy use. For Board's consideration, would like to look for a consensus to move forward with this. The process could be broken down even further if the Board wishes to. The initial cost estimate from the construction companies is looking like it's going to be in the $200,000 range. Some of that funding can come from CARES, we're told. I'm waiting on a new legal opinion on that to make sure. Also considering the use of ARP funds for some of that parking lot as well. The future of that parking lot will be broken down again into further phases that will probably commence sometime 2022 or even 2023 to eventually just kind of take a bite of the sandwich a few years at a time to get the whole parking lot redone.
Isn't it cheaper just to have them out there at one time?
It can be. Sometimes breaking it down is more helpful. Doing it all at once can be helpful as well. You have a great point there. It appears that it was broken down in the past. The area to the north of the basketball courts and to the north of the actual pool pump facility back there appear to be in much better shape than the area to the south. Probably a variety of factors, but some of them do look like they went in at different times, and obviously some get more use than others. That's what led to the discussion about breaking it down. Happy to put it to rest and bring it back probably in 2022 and try to do the whole thing at once if that's what the Board desires, but did want to get it on the radar as a potential project to move forward with.
Because if you're gonna use CARES and or the other, I'd knock it out. That's just my opinion.
Bad when you have nothing worse than a road that has half that works and half that doesn't, right? So if we're gonna fix it, I would agree we need to get it knocked out. I know we had a record year at the pool survey that's gonna go out. I expect we'll get, if I'm guessing, we'll get good feedback on how everything went this year, and some improvements. I expect, good attendance again. So they use the fields for rec league and sports, so it's going to be an area that I know they'll appreciate having. I have noticed the parking lot's a little rough over there, so potholes and cracks and things like that. So it's good.
Yeah, I think that probably contributes to the condition of the north part versus the south part. North obviously, or south gets a lot more use between the playground, the pool, the soccer fields, all those things. So that probably is a big factor into why they look a little bit different. But if the board's comfortable, we'll move forward with as much as we can with the funding that we have available without pushing it too far.
I'm fine with that. Trustee Taranto, Trustee Rivers, good?
Good.
Thank you, board. Next item on the operations report is a discussion about the Thompson renovations. We began with demo a month or so ago. On the report tonight, we are looking for a consensus to move forward with these renovations. This will include the development of 4 additional offices, as well as a storage space and a modern conference room that will provide privacy and obviously a little more bells and whistles than what we're currently using. The price on this includes everything you see here with the exception of the HVAC work and the flooring. Those will be done at the end of the phase, separate from the contract. The work should commence relatively soon after bidding, looking at roughly a 5 to 6 week turnaround on the improvements over there, which again will give us what we see in the pictures there. And also a tip of the hat, again, we talk a lot about the staff here at the Township. Brett is actually the creator of these drawings here, so it's always nice to have staff members with multiple skills, and Brett did a very nice job drawing this up for a visual for everyone.
What do you think a rendering like this would be? Some substantial investment, tax dollars, right?
I think so. And this is, I mean, we're fortunate that Brett has these expertise and he does enjoy making these sketches.
It's really good.
Love it. Thanks for doing that and making it happen quickly.
Yeah, and just for the board's understanding, we are anticipating zoning department to move over there since they do need the storage space, as most of our permanent records, or zoning, all zoning records are permanent records for the most part, and they tend to use the meeting room the most, so that's where we would be relocating them.
And they're in the garage. Yeah, get them out of there. Can you share the estimated cost and the funding sources?
The estimated cost is in the $46,000 to $56,000 range. Again, that will exclude HVAC and flooring, which will come at a later date near the end of the project. We have vendors lined up for those. And again, similar to another staff member who helped us out with these drawings, we have another staff member on hand that has HVAC certification, so they will be helping quite a bit to save the township some money with that. The funding from this will be CARES funding that was previously approved, since we are creating office spaces and separating staff, which will obviously be a big boost to the zoning department, especially right now. They're kind of crammed in open space right now and don't really have the privacy, so this will be a big boost to them as well.
Yep. So we're getting reimbursed, bottom line.
Correct.
Which is great. Okay. And do you have an estimate on with our team doing the HVAC, and I assume they can probably, did they do the flooring in the new break room?
Yeah, we did do that flooring. We'll probably contract out, since it's a bigger room and a little more diverse, we'll probably contract out the flooring. I don't have figures on that yet. The HVAC purchasing of supplies and materials is probably going to be in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. Guesstimating that 30% of that or more would probably go into labor. Hopefully we'll be able to save several $1,000s on doing a lot of that work in-house if we can.
Okay.
And we've already addressed the fire suppression system and some of the electrical stuff in different work as well. So.
And that's CARES as well, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
You have my consent?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, board.
All right. Chief McNeil?
Trustees, one thing I have on the agenda tonight is for to acknowledge and accept donations. The other day, one of our units, Unit 2, Station 362, went and got food from Scramblers, and a couple residents from there were nice enough to purchase a gift card for $30 for them. Of course, they paid out of their own money, and then brought this forward to ask if we could accept the donation, and I'll give it back to that crew to utilize it. So
that's great. Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-333, acknowledge and accept donation.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
I'd just like to thank the chief and the crew that came to meet with third graders with me last week or the week before, actually. And you made that a memorable visit for them, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy to do it. Thank you, Brooke.
Do you have an estimated time on the proposal for the body armor upgrade?
Yes, sir. So we have it all done. We sent it up for CARES approval. It came under, it was about 67,000.
Okay.
So we're just waiting for that to come back. It's ready to go, and we got the invoice for the actual from each company. We broke it down to the minimal cost, and we're just waiting for that.
All right. Ms. Crack, Ms. Bobbitt's report.
Sure. Okay, start with September financial reports. We got those done today. So you should have those reports in your inbox as well as back in the back for signature and review. A few highlights: as of September 30th, our ending cash is $30,500,323.28, which includes investments of approximately $8.7 million with Fifth Third and $10 million with Star Ohio. Our fund balances are $7.8 million in general, $3.6 million in roads, $9.7 million in fire, and $5.4 million in parks. Expenses through September 30th are $11.3 million versus tax revenue of $17.4 million. And that revenue number does include CARES dollars and ARP funds. Okay, any questions on that? Okay. Next, we had our investment committee meeting. It was myself, Mr. Grumbles, Ms. Bonnie. Our Fifth Third account manager was unable to attend. I submitted the minutes as part of the backup, but just at a high level, at our meeting, we reviewed kind of our current strategy of short-term purchases due to not wanting to lock in anything long-term with the rates where they're at right now. And in case we need available funds, if we end up doing Bill Kenyon or something like that, that requires a significant cash outlay. So we are, right now our average duration is 0.54 years, so that's right around that 6-month mark. And we talked about starting to buy some commercial paper since I have the certification for that. We can begin to buy that. And the committee agreed to go ahead and there's very specific requirements around it. It's all very short term, 270 days or less. And you can only have so much of your portfolio tied into commercial paper. I'd be happy to meet with anybody individually if they have some questions. But the committee agreed to go ahead and start acquiring some commercial paper to try to boost up our book yield right now. Okay?
On the financial review, I know the $30 million that we have, that'll be spent on things, right? So
yeah, you've got 1.5 million of that is ARP and about $500,000 is CARES. So about $2 million of that is restricted funds. We don't have our opioid settlement yet, but that's probably going to be around, I don't know, $70,000, $80,000. We haven't received that settlement. Yeah, and so we haven't received that money yet, but yeah, so the bulk of the money sitting right now, we've got almost half, a third of our cash positions right now is a buyer, so that's where a lot of our positions are. But then we've got end of year payouts coming up and things like that.
That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Once those happen, we roll over ballpark.
Yep.
A much lower
Silence.
amount.
Yeah, he has almost $500,000 for road park. That'll be spent, I think, in early next year. Is that what I understand? Yeah. So, you've got a big expense there. You've got the boat coming. You've got the roof coming. So there's some, this is just simply cash. It does not account for appropriations.
Correct.
Okay.
I just want to make sure with the levy, and a lot of times people hear that number and they think
no, this is just our cash position doesn't account for what's been appropriated or planned to spend. Then one other thing, CARES fund, I just submitted our third quarter CARES report. Our final report will be at the end of the year. So we've got to the end of the year to finish any CARES projects. Okay. That's it.
I do want to tell you, I think it's awesome what you presented at the investment meeting.
Oh, thanks.
I know they've discussed for a decade or more, concern over yield on our investments being too low or not taking advantage of what's available, and we could never figure that out, and you did that in short order. So when you look at the amount of money that we're moving and the change in yield, it's beneficial. It's very
The
good.
yield was actually significant before 2000.
What's that?
The yield, the return on our investment was actually.
They made some new rules though, right?
Yes, and then the recession hit and interest rates were.
Right. But with the rules that Ms. Kraft kind of touched on, I think there were always some barriers. And when you triple your yield or more, that's never a bad thing. So everybody benefits from that, and appreciate the initiative to do that.
No problem. Thank you.
Sound fiscal policy. Administrative report?
Yes, Board, I only have one agenda item this evening, and that is in regards to the military leave policy. We recently hired an employee that is serving with the military and learned that our policy was quite outdated since ORC has updated its conditions a couple years ago. So this policy is really just to be in place to conform with the ORC guidelines.
What was the catalyst for this being changed? Is this something you found or something?
To be honest, with the new employee that serves on military, he has to go on leave in a couple of weeks, and this became a priority. So this will be included in the new handbook once we get to that.
Never came up prior.
Yeah.
All right. Great work as always. Thank you for getting in front of this so we didn't have to react. Appreciate that.
I will need the board to sign the policy once it's approved by resolution.
Okay. Make a motion to approve Resolution 21-334, adoption of a military leave policy.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Tranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
All right. That brings us to old business. I know we had a couple of purchase orders that were debated. We couldn't get a unanimous vote on. After the meeting, I had asked for copies of the agreements and related documents to get to the bottom of that and try and make sure that we were ahead.
So these bills need to be paid. I've took it upon myself to reach out and get the documents needed. So who do I need to provide this to get these paid? Because we've got a great relationship with Corda. This has been continuing on for a while. It's nonsense. It's a witch hunt. So just tell me who I need to give the documents to show these are valid expenses, and I'll be happy to take care of. Who could I provide those to?
$30,000 a witch hunt.
Just,
It was not approved by the board.
just let me. Who can I submit those to, and I'll be happy to take care of it. Who would you like me to give those to? Lisa, who can I provide those to?
Well, I mean, I've got them. It's just a matter of you need.
Well, I don't think all the accurate information's been. So who would I provide that to?
I would think you'd provide it to the other board members.
And is there an auditor, or where is this
Oh, I
stand?
contacted the auditor of state as directed at the last meeting, and they said, take it to legal.
So
Who can I provide this to, and we can get this wrapped up and resolved? Because the court needs to be paid.
According to the auditor of state, when I talked to our auditor about it, he said, well, it hasn't been paid yet, so there's really nothing to find whether it was a valid expense or not. I asked the auditor of state, they said.
And our prosecutor's office already said that this should be paid.
Our
County prosecutor's
auditor of
office.
state,
Right.
the auditor of state said, send it to legal, outside legal counsel. They said legal counsel, send it to your legal counsel.
And the prosecutors approved it to be paid. Prosecutor's office.
That's because they didn't have the full story. They didn't understand. what
Okay, so let's make sure we have the full story. So who would you like this to be given to now?
Let's see it, yeah.
So who do you want me to hand this to? I want, if there's an auditor or legal counsel, whoever. Who do we want to send this to?
Ms. Bonnie, do you have the contract and the information that I asked to review? I reviewed it electronically. I don't have it in print.
We do.
Scope of work.
I have, this is the one for the Township Hall assessment, and then I have this one for the 10th.
This is the one I'm referring to here. So the signed agreement, and this is where the concern surfaced. Is in the first order that says architectural and engineering assessment of Township Hall for the possible expansion and/or relocation of office space within the existing building. There's another scope of work that mentions a $7,000 expense, $8,100 expense roughly, related to 7991 Columbus Pike. That's the building that was of concern.
How many lawsuits is this board going to subject our township to? These are baseless allegations. They're false.
No allegation.
They are.
I was just asking for clarity.
So who can I submit whatever it is we need to? I still haven't gotten an answer because I'm not comfortable with submitting just to their board members. Just pick a legal or
I would
auditor.
send it to an outside legal counsel, either Zett's, either Zetz's office or P. Griggs's office. I can't remember the name of the firm.
And I asked for this is the first that I've seen this scope of work. Haven't had that before. This is the scope of work that I was provided when I asked that specifically says Township Hall. It doesn't say any other place. It says Township Hall, the existing building.
These were all well within the authority that was exercised.
That's not true.
Okay.
The scope of work in this document, I just read it. I'll read it again.
You're creating liability for the township. This is a public forum. This is not the place to be throwing out wild accusations.
There's no accusation.
Yes, it is.
No allegation. It's a paper right here, Mr. Rivers.
And you added this to the agenda
I read
last
this.
minute. So I will be happy to submit whatever is needed to get this resolved. But doing this in a public forum is inappropriate.
Okay. I didn't add this to the agenda at the last minute.
You've added two other things with this.
I added two things that are not related to this to the agenda. This document that I was provided, the only document that I had seen, specifically says the task is for the architectural and engineering assessment of Township Hall for the expansion and/or relocation of office space.
And I think you need to submit all that to council and get an answer.
Interrupt me again, I'm going to gavel you out for being out of order.
I think you need to submit that to council.
I would like to read what, I can finish my sentence, it would be great.
You want to subject us to another lawsuit? Go ahead.
Order. You happy now? I mean, I can keep doing that and we can hold recess and get, someone in here to remove you if you continue to disrupt and interrupt us. I'm reading a sentence. I'm asking that you let me finish.
I disagree with what you're doing, but go ahead. I can't stop you.
For the possible expansion and/or relocation of office space within the existing building. That's the only document provided until tonight. This document is different. This document clearly states 7991 Columbus Pike. That's not Township Hall. That's the building of question that was of a concern. This document's new. I don't have an...
Check the task order number. They're probably different task orders.
They are. One's 2025 and one is 2022.
Yeah, so they're two different task orders.
Correct. So my question then is just, and I'm fine with this as long as the task orders that were approved match up with the resolutions and bills that were asked to be paid for. That would be the only clarity that I need. And I'm fine with not rescinding anything.
Two and four. Task order of 2 and task order of 5.
Which is this?
This was
That's
the
05, that's 02.
Task order 8.
That's one of them, yeah.
It's 02.
And then this was included in the backup items from February 2021.
Okay. And that's February 05. That was, what I'm asking is, what I was saying is the scope of work. And that's what I have now.
So if,
Hang on, hang
oh,
on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I want to see that. And if I overlooked it, then I'm accountable for it. There's nothing wrong with clarifying before we engage in a contract and pay it to make sure that it's accurate. So this is 6,800 to 85. Is that correct? Because that's a different number.
That's correct. The resolution for this evening to be discussed is 6,802.85. So that is
Okay, and that's 2025.
2020-5, yes. And then 2020-2, I believe, is 13,750. Yes,
And we approved as a board both task orders, correct?
you did,
Okay,
last meeting.
Then there's nothing to rescind. It's fine. Damn. No, you said last meeting we approved it. What I'm saying is, when were the scope of work should have been approved in February?
February of 2021, yes.
Okay, and they were approved.
It was included in the backup items.
Right. Then we're fine to move on. There's no issue. You need to pay it. Thank you for the clarity. We sat with an auditor and we're told to ensure we're vetting our expenses. I'm going to take pause and do that. There were concerns over the design that were overlooked and moving our township hall to another building. And the cost to do that, I think, was prohibitive. I know there was discussion about,
There was look at creating additional space, not moving township hall.
I know there was discussion about offsetting the costs or working on an agreement that would reduce some of it. And I think it was around $600,000. In that discussion, the assumption of moving township hall was based on the discussion that we weren't privy to at the time, that we became privy to, was that township hall would be deeded over to another entity, which means given away, and the offices would be relocated to the building, not shared space, what have you. If there were repairs that were decided to be made, they could be made, and if we wanted to lease back Township Hall, we could do that. Apparently there was a discussion about the entity turning it into a community type center, something along those lines.
Everything you just said is false.
Okay. It's in an email. I read it. You have the email with you?
There was different options that were given, but that was never an action taken or anyone moved forward with. Just
I
because
didn't
it's in
say
an
there
email,
was an action.
just because it's in an email doesn't mean, someone sends out a random idea, it means it's in an email, it means nothing. There was never any plan to move Township Hall. And as far as the lease, those are creative financing options that can save the taxpayers a lot of money in the work that we were looking at doing in Township Hall. And you were well aware of all this.
I was aware that there was a discussion on fixing Township Hall.
I believe we
Partnering
took
with-
care of the quota item. Can we move on? I believe we've covered the quota issue.
Partnering on finances and getting Township Hall repaired, and there was concern over the cost that it would take to properly repair Township Hall. No one said there was any action taken. There was a discussion, is the word I used, on moving in a proposal, an offer to move over that constituted a $600,000 charge. All of that stuff came out after the fact to the board.
That was during COVID, and they were looking at additional space for the space out. So I completely disagree with everything you just said.
No one was made aware of that until after the fact.
You were aware of it. You knew about it.
I did not know about
Yes,
it.
you're not being honest.
Okay, well, I've done a records request for it. I've got the records for it. My records, no emails to me were made. No emails from me were provided. None. The email that I got had no board members on it.
But you were told at that time and were aware. Can we move on? I think we've covered this. I'm not sure why we're
I
beating
control the agenda as the
I'm not sure
chair.
why we're beating this to death.
You've raised some concerns and I'm addressing them.
You've addressed them. Let's move on.
Ms. Bonnie, do you have a copy of the email referencing the discussion that happened?
We do have it on, he says I give a copy of it if you'd like.
I'll just read it. That way we can get rid of the conspiracy theory. Is this the one that pertains to, this isn't the one I'm asking about. I'm asking about the moving Township Hall and deeding it over.
Should be in those proposals, I believe. That's the email that I received about it.
No one's denying there was an email, so I think we've covered this.
It's not the email I'm referencing.
But I don't know if I received it.
Okay. It's an email talking about deeding over the property and leasing it back. That's where the concern lied. The cost of doing that were substantial and
no action was ever taken.
You gonna allow me to talk, or are you gonna interrupt me continuously?
I'm allowed to have a voice. I'm a board member.
Action that was taken was money was spent on the study.
That was authorized.
The task order right here authorized 2 studies that were done to fit out the buildings. The second authorization wasn't discussed last meeting. It's fine to pay the bills, in my opinion. I voted on it. I'm fine sticking to that. The concern that led to this, as I tried to say, is that a subsequent email was provided that made clear there was other discussion going on, and the full extent of the cost after the study was done were substantial. So clearly there was going to be additional discussion, and we never got to that. I was more concerned about the significance of the proposals without having the board intervene or involved in the conversation up front. I think that was a pretty significant move. So those are fine in my opinion. I think we approved them 2-1, so we can move forward from there. From a new business standpoint, as part of the records request, there were some issues discovered with different timestamp backups of email accounts that had different, the accounts were different sizes. I think Trustee Taranto was the acting administrator at the time. We could not recover physical equipment until June, I believe. It was June, yeah, June of this year. And yep, June 4th of 21, we got the physical equipment back. And a image was made of the physical equipment that showed 2 significant dates of deleted records. And so we need to recover those records, and I'm asking for approval tonight to do that.
And what's the purpose of this?
To recover public records that were deleted.
And how many other staff members have we gone through, and how much money have we spent on sending stuff away to forensic experts for emails, for cell phones, and it's turned up nothing? This is like the third or fourth.
Well, I have a
witch hunt.
report right here if you'd like to see it. I'm happy to show it to you.
Yeah, and you know what? If someone you can delete spam, you are allowed to delete emails. But this is a complete waste of tax money. I think it's time we move on and put this behind us. I don't know why we're still hung up on this.
Profile Discovery has found activity that does exceed what would be classified as normal, as outlined below. Mass deletions on May 18th, 2021. 93,000 records deleted on May 18th, 2021. That's not normal. That's not random emails. I have images of the emails that were deleted.
If you want to waste money on this, I have no ability to stop you. So go ahead.
It's not a waste of money.
I'm sure it'll turn up nothing again, just like everything else. But go ahead.
It's already turned up something.
Okay.
I have it right here.
I'm sure
you can
you
see
do.
it for yourself.
Okay.
There's emails that are clearly public records. There's images of that. and they need to be recovered. There's pending records requests that were not filled because the records couldn't be retrieved. There were records requests that you were asked to fill that you failed to fill that were obtained through other venues. So this is a big deal. That's the law. The law says, the Sunshine Law says, that we have an obligation to fulfill and provide public records.
Yeah, the facts are the facts, and you clearly crossed the line of defamation.
The facts are the facts. I have a report from a forensic lab right in front of me.
You're making baseless allegations in a public meeting. This is embarrassing.
I think you're posturing politically for yourself and your own best interest instead of the townships.
I think the township wants to focus on the issues, what the residents care about,
The
not
issues are,
allegations in a public meeting.
the issues are substantial.
If you have something that you want to bring forward after it's been vetted and it's been looked at, that's fine. But to bring this into a public meeting and just throw out wild conspiracies,
It's been vetted.
it's embarrassing.
It's been vetted. There's
I've not seen anything.
Do you want consensus?
There's a chain of custody form. There's a professional
Okay,
laboratory.
But this is not providing backup. This was never given to anyone. This is
It's an image of
I've
a
never seen
computer.
any of this. So this needs to come to the board.
It's related to a public records
You don't just
request.
pull this out in a public meeting.
The board doesn't have to authorize activity unless it exceeds a specific
I
amount.
can't stop you, so I guess two of you can go ahead and do whatever you wish to do. I'm sure it'll turn nothing.
You don't
but
think
go
that
ahead.
violating the sunshine laws is
I
a
don't
big
think
deal?
there's anything to any of your claimant, but like I said, I can't stop you, so go ahead.
You want to see this?
Go ahead. Like I said, you can do whatever you want. They're all baseless allegations.
Sure.
There's nothing here. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
You
so
can
if,
pass whatever you want. You can say whatever you want.
you want me to have the
It
consultant
doesn't.
come in
It
and show
doesn't
you
change
this?
the facts. The facts are the facts. There's nothing there.
Okay, okay, nothing here. All right. Make a motion to approve resolution 337 to authorize,
334.
sorry, 334, yep.
No, 335.
335. 335 to authorize Township Administrator to work with Profile Discovery to recover deleted records and obtain a summary of what was deleted. Mr. Anto, do you recall the images of the backup files we got from the county being substantially different? And if memory serves, you restored some of the files you were able to recover. Do you recall if they were public records or not?
They were.
Thank you.
And for the record, we've gone through the same song and dance with other former staff, and it's always turned up nothing. And I'm sure there'll be the same case with this.
It did it one time, and it turned up something. Not the subject of the meeting. The board agreed to move on from that issue.
I think we've created enough liability for the township here tonight. Can we move
I
on?
don't think any names have been mentioned.
I need a second, please.
There's a report.
Second. Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Tranto? Mr. Rivers?
No.
I thought you said that you needed to, like, wait a second.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I needed a second.
I don't care who sees it, just a summary that they've recorded the deletions. Have the file back, please. Make a copy if you want it. The second was attorney representation is rooted in the outside counsel to review. I think the resolution was resolved. We won't need to obtain outside counsel to review it. We had an offer to sit down with the auditor. This came up during that conversation where they recommended we seek outside counsel to review it. So there's no issue there, and we don't need to really vet that. I think we had an issue earlier or later last week involving the prosecutor's office. We've got an update on that. And
the audit had misinformation, false information, misleading information provided into it. I reached out for counsel as not all board members were consulted on it. Counsel gave me guidance. I reached out to the firm that did the audit and explained to them some new information. They were very surprised to find that they haven't been given the whole story. We discussed what was needed to resolve the issue, and I will be providing that, and it will be closed case and done with probably the next couple of days. So I'll be providing that, and that will be no longer a concern for the township.
I do have to say, you had opportunity to participate in this process. You've been emailed all along the process. You haven't responded to a single request for this audit.
I have
Let's
not.
just be fair about the process.
So all right, an audit's an audit. I don't need to be in depth involved with an audit. I was not aware there was anything in that audit that was an issue until late last week, which I got into an email. No one ever contacted me. Not one person from the township ever reached out to me with one question. Not one. And if they had, it would have been closed, but I could have answered it in 5 minutes. So I did. I'm aware. I took care of it. It'll be closed and done with in a couple of days.
I don't think anyone else was afforded the findings of the audit until they sat down with the auditor and received a copy of them. So I don't think there was any preferential treatment. The audit
There was
is,
not.
the auditor is independent. They review the records they have, they make a decision, and they submit that to the auditor of state, who takes the appropriate action from there. So if there's
And nothing's
additional,
been submitted to the auditor of state, and when it is, there's not going to be any issues. So I'm glad I was afforded the opportunity to take care of what needed to be taken care of.
anything else for tonight? Need an executive session? I don't think we do. All right. 6 now. Make a motion to approve resolution 21-336, meeting adjournment.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes?
Ms. Tranto? Yes. Mr. Rivers?
Yes.